Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, August 9th, and I'm your host, Megan Corbett. We often hear stories in the news of people giving back to organizations that have saved their lives or the lives of someone close to them. Most of the time, those who give back are adults who have dealt with serious illnesses. It is not common to hear a story like this from a teenager.
Life can change in an instant. For parents Jim and Tracy Brown, theirs changed in January of 2017. That is when they found out their then 6th grade daughter, Kaylee, was diagnosed with leukemia. Throughout 2017, Kaylee received a number of treatments, and in October of that year, the Brown family was given the great news that her cancer was in remission. Most children her age would then go back to living their lives and leave the thought of cancer in the rear view, but not Kaylee. With help from her friend Olivia, they decided to raise money to donate to the Jimmy Fund.
They gave me their love and support, and they helped me through my time there, and I just wanted to give back to them because they really helped me.
In July of 2018, the girls put together a team to compete in New England Kids Triathlon. Although it is not an obligation to fundraise for this event, the girls decided to do so anyways.
We had people from our family and friends donate. They gave checks, dressed to the Jimmy Fund, and we also had lemonade stands.
We would just for people to know that we were doing it, we would post things about it and they would donate and reply, and they would send us checks and money and all that.
The two girls, along with 2 sisters and 5 friends, were able to raise $3,500 in 2018, and Team Kaylee was officially born. After hearing about the success of Team Kaylee, the girls were able to recruit 23 friends and family to compete in this year's triathlon.
So this year we had 23 girls doing the triathlon. Very proud of all of them. And some of them it was their first time. Others it was their second time because last year we had some girls do it. And they're just amazing. They were very nervous, I can tell you that. But we all finished.
And of course, the girls worked just as hard fundraising as they did training for this event, if not harder. All that hard work paid off when they found out the amount that they were able to raise this year.
In total, we raised about $9,000.
Great. What if I was to tell you that you guys raised $10,625 this year?
Actually,
That's insane.
oh my God. I never thought that we would break $10,000. Just starting off, I thought that we would set the goal for something higher than last year, but my goal was just to have everyone have fun and do this just to be together and support the Jimmy Fund. But honestly, this is so heartwarming and amazing. Can't believe it.
Although the girls will be aging out of the kid triathlon, Team Kaylee will continue to compete with the help of the younger girls on the team. They will also be looking to add more races on their calendar for 2020. Fundraising for next year's event has already begun.
So the easiest way is to send a check payable to the Jimmy Fund to me, Kaylee, at 49 Kathleen Lane.
Or you can send it to my address at 92 Rosemary Street.
The girls want to thank everyone that has supported and continues to support Team Kaylee. For Norwood News, I'm Mike Maloof.
Thanks, Mike. What an amazing story. Stay tuned after this break to find out who the new Oldham interim principal is, a recent concert at the high school, and for this week's Living Local.
And welcome back to NutriSlice News. Today we're learning about a new summer meals program going on at the Coakley. Let's go live on the scene with Chris P. Bacon. Thanks, Phil. This is Chris P. Bacon here. I'm live on the scene at the Coakley Middle School, where they're starting the Summer Eats program. This runs from July 1st all the way through August 16th, Monday through Friday. Lunch will be served to all kids and teens, 18 and under. Come on down and grab lunch anytime from 10:30 to 12:30. We're going to be serving meals no matter if it's a hurricane or torrential downpours. Lunch will be served. Back to you in the studio. Thanks, Chris. That looks like a great program that all the kids will love. Make sure you stay dry. Grab a towel. We'll see you later on tonight for your local news.
Welcome back. It was announced earlier this week that retired Callahan School Principal Bob Griffin will be returning to the Norwood School District as interim principal for the Oldham School. In an email sent to parents, Superintendent Thompson stated, "I am very excited to share that Mr. Bob Griffin has agreed to come and serve in this capacity for the school year. As you all know, Mr. Griffin is not only a lifelong resident of Norwood, but also an experienced administrator and someone well qualified to lead our school." Tune into Norwood News next week for an interview with Mr. Griffin. NHS alumni took to the stage at the high school last Friday night for the annual Alumni Choir Concert. 15 recent and not so recent graduates teamed up to put on a concert for the residents of Norwood. There were group performances along with male and female a cappella performances. To watch the concert, tune into Norwood Community Media Community Channel. If guitars or any string instruments are your thing, then this week's Living Local will be music to your ears. Located in Winsmith Market, DZ Mods is the home for all things strings. Let's go learn more on this week's Living Local.
I'm Dave Zolla, and this is my place in Norwood, DZ Mods, at the Winsmith Mill off of Endicott Street, and I'm in building 24, the bottom floor. What I do here is all kinds of repair, building and modification of string instruments, mostly guitar, but I can work on any string instrument.
Most of the instruments that are brought in need general maintenance, but Dave also specializes in making custom parts for guitars.
I work on a lot of older vintage stuff, and if you can't get parts, I can usually make them. So basically, I can do pretty much whatever your needs are to put your instrument back into playing condition.
Dave has been working on guitars since his early teens and learned his craft at a legendary Norwood music store.
I got started because I grew up in Norwood, and there was a store here in Norwood that was here for, at that time, probably 60 years, and that was Farnham's Music. And the gentleman that owned the place was Mr. Fader. He was a great guy, an older gent, World War II vet, grown-up guy when I was a kid. And I used to spend a lot of time in there looking at guitars, and he was a great guy, and he took an interest in me. And what he would do is he'd bring me up old guitars from the cellar he had, things, and he would send me home with them with instructions. But he was just a great man. I really was very fond of him.
In addition to repairing guitars, DZ Mods has all the accessories you need, offers lessons, rehearsal space, and equipment.
I stock basic music accessories, strings, straps, picks, microphones, drumsticks, cables. We've already started the lesson program. We're just starting to build it. It's brand new. So we'll be teaching here, and we'll also be looking for teachers of all types of instruments. I also have rehearsal rooms that rent by the month. I also record live bands and do demos. And my future plans include trying to get something I wanted to do in here a long time, was to build a stage so that local kids can come in and set up on a stage and play for their friends and parents. We also are able to rent hourly for rehearsal, where we would provide a back line of a drum set, a couple of guitar amps, and a PA system. If you want to rehearse and you don't want to leave your gear, you don't even have to bring your gear, we can arrange for hourly, and we'll set you up. When it's all said and done, and now that I'm in my 60s and I've been doing this, I really owe it all to Mr. Farnham, who's actually Mr. Fader. And I wish he could see what he did for me. And, you know, I don't know if anybody could really replace him, but He definitely inspired me, and I managed other stores in Norwood and Dedham when I was growing up, music stores. And this is just kind of a continual legacy, and you know, I'm glad that that there's still a presence for this sort of thing in Norwood.
DZ Mods is located in Building 24 at the Winsmith Mill.
Stay tuned after this break to find out what's happening in your local government.
The Norwood Circle of Hope Foundation was established in 1998 in memory of Michelle Kennedy, a young Norwood resident who suffered with leukemia. During Michelle's battle, the entire Norwood community, many of whom did not know Michelle, joined together to support her in her time of need, and it is in that spirit the Norwood Circle of Hope Foundation continues. The mission of the foundation is to provide assistance to Norwood residents who are in need due to a catastrophic medical occurrence. The Circle of Hope Foundation aims to alleviate the stress of everyday expenses for Norwood families during their time of need. Over the years, their assistance has covered housing expenses, utilities, food, and various medical expenses. The Circle of Hope relies on referrals and direct requests to find those in need. If you know of a Norwood resident who needs assistance, or if you are a resident who needs some yourself, please call the Norwood Circle of Hope at 781-762-3549. or write to the Norwood Circle of Hope Foundation, P.O. Box 421, Norwood, Massachusetts 02062. To learn more about the Circle of Hope or to get involved, visit norwoodcoh.org.
Welcome back to Norwood News. Continuing with the show cause hearings for serving alcohol to a minor, the Selectmen met with a full agenda Tuesday night. The meeting began with an executive session to discuss litigation regarding Boston Executive Helicopter versus the town of Norwood. The board did not make a statement following the executive session. The board then had Paradise, Barnyarny Point, and Bamboo Cafe in to discuss the show cause hearings for serving alcohol to a minor. Both establishments were given verbal warnings. The last agenda item of the night was Mark Ryan presenting a new water emergency agreement between Norwood and Sharon.
Sharon, unlike Norwood, Sharon has its own well supplies, and 70% of its well capacity is within 300 feet of an active freight railroad. And they are very concerned about that in the event of a catastrophic event, those wells would go offline. In addition, they are concerned with emergencies if those wells fail for any other issues. And the town of Norwood has emergency connections to Walpole, a smaller one, and Westwood. And Sharon would like to do the same, to provide some kind of insurance policy to them.
As Mark said, it would be for emergency connections, understanding that an emergency might be a 6-month period or a 12-month period. It wouldn't be a day-long water emergency or anything like that, but we make money off the water. We get a substantial amount of lining done at Sharon's expense. The pipes, I think, in that area of town are around 40 or 50 years old, so it would come up on our schedule at some point. As you know, we've talked about, we have 30-some-odd years before we could line the entire town, so this is certainly a help in that direction. It's almost the equivalent of 2 years' worth of MWRA's borrowing, so it's a good deal for us. It's a good deal for Sharon. If I was them, I would certainly want to know that in the back of my head I had an emergency access to enough water for the entire community, and I think it's a good deal for them. It's good for us.
Selectmen moved to accept this proposal with a unanimous vote. During the Selectmen's addenda, the board discussed new rule changes to the use of Highland Cemetery and the gazebo. A vote was made to continue the discussion during the next meeting on August 20th. With 5 hearings scheduled on Tuesday, the Zoning Board of Appeals had a busy night. 4 of the meetings requested permits to build additions to their current home. The board approved all requests. The ZBA will meet next on August 20th at 7:15 p.m. Wednesday was a busy day in town government with 3 meetings scheduled. In the afternoon, the Airport Commission met for around a half hour before going into executive session. The board discussed and approved prior meeting minutes, gave an update on the ongoing project of the major Mark C. Welch Administration Building, and discussed correspondence. The next Airport Commission meeting will take place in the coming weeks. After taking some time off during the summer months, the school committee reconvened on Wednesday night. The meeting began with some brief housekeeping matters, then the committee hosted the elementary school principals to discuss some revisions to the student handbooks.
Individually looked at, most of it is aligned in the blue pages. So the blue pages, as you remember, are our unique pages to our school. So there are some questions came up about bicycles was like a small one, but you know, me being on Washington Street in South Norwood, I don't allow bikes. It's a dangerous place for kids to be riding bikes. But Brian, being tucked in a neighborhood, he allows bikes. I think that's reasonable. I think it makes a lot of sense. So there will be some slight differences based on the neighborhood school situation. And then we got some feedback on some of the white page stuff, and it seemed to us, and we kind of clarified this and talked with Teresa, that the white pages, changing them would be more of a bigger group of people that should be looking at it. It feels like to us for years now, they've been used as a mechanism to inform parents of what the law is, and it feels like you want us to interpret the law more closely for how Norwood looks at it and then reacts to it.
After some suggested changes were made, the handbooks were approved by the committee. Following the handbook discussion, Principal Robbins had some good news for the committee regarding a new playground that is going to be built at the preschool.
When we first made the move to the LMPA, Carol Poirier actually was right on top of getting some initial donations for a playground, knowing that that was going to be something we would need. So where it says NPS Preschool Playground Revolver, that $6,000 was raised single-handedly by Carol Poirier. And to that end, we've had some discussions with our committee about possibly dedicating the playground to her in her name. She was such a staunch supporter of early childhood education that I can't imagine a more appropriate person to dedicate the playground to. Haven't spoken to her family yet about it, so if they're listening, that's a surprise. But just to kind of tell you what we did, we had that initial $6,000 that's in the MPS revolver, and then the PTO was willing to. They had some additional money in their coffers that they were willing to just sort of earmark for the playground as well, which is that initial $5,000 up at the top. And then through fundraising efforts through the second half of this year, we were able to get to the $18,000 mark plus the $6,000 to get to $24,000. We did solicit 2 bids for the project, one from Ultiplay and one from Creative Playthings. Ultiplay has done some playground projects, I believe, in Norwood in the past. Creative Playthings, we have a parent on our committee who has a connection to the company and has been wheeling and dealing and trying to, play that angle to get as much discount as we can. So we're very pleased to report that we have a bid for $23,000 to build a very appropriate preschool playground in our space.
The committee approved the plans for the playground and construction will begin in the fall. Norwood News will be following the construction of this playground. The next school committee meeting will be September 11th. At the final meeting of Wednesday night, Norwood 1420 Realty Ventures appeared before the Conservation Commission. They discussed the overflowing of the basin at Wendy's and BJ's gas properties. On July 17th, the basin had to be pumped out due to water overflow. A few days later, the basin filled back up with water again after a rainstorm. Justin Ferris of 1420 Realty explains their plans moving forward to correct the issue.
We had concerns about the basin not working. Obviously, we want it to function as intended. It was built as the plan depicts. And we have these 2 options in front of us moving forward that we'd like to try when we have a good weather stretch to establish some vegetation on that bare slope and go from there. We spent a good deal of effort and money on the 2 separate fixes in June and July, and unfortunately we got met with kind of ferocious thunderstorms right after. So we've kept Al in the loop the whole time. He's met us on site plenty of times. He's overseen the repairs we've done. We're going to continue working with the town. We're not running from this problem. We want it to function as intended.
1420 Realty will continue to work on improving this issue and will be updating the Conservation Commission on their progress. To watch complete government coverage, please tune into the Norwood Community Media Government channel or watch us on demand at www.norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break to see what's happening at our schools.
Norwood. Here, we are chosen at birth. Our
loyalties are predetermined, and our families defined, raised by the stories of those that came before us.
Here's a breakaway. Bill Norman, he's in, back and score!
Fearlessly driven by the hope of what's to come. It chooses us, it defines us, and for us, it's everything. This is Norwood, and here, sports are in our blood.
Norwood Mustangs 2015 are the state Division I champs.
Welcome back. This week we're going to show you an amazing story produced by NHS TV student Adeline Janed. Last year, Janed was able to travel to Argentina, and while there, she produced a story about a man's struggle with political freedom.
Nestor Fantini was only 22 when the Argentine military seized control of his country in the early 1970s.
Not only the president is arrested, but also they closed down Congress. They appointed the judges that supported the military, and at some point they started to arrest average citizens.
Fantini witnessed his fellow Argentinians face torture and oppression, which he says military leaders used to maintain social order and eradicate political opposition.
Growing in a country where they talk about democracy, but on the other hand, I mean, you see authoritarian and totalitarian systems, obviously creates a contradiction in the mind of any young person. And that's what happened with me.
So it wasn't long before he realized he needed to stand up against the state-sponsored terrorism.
As a young student, I felt that I had to make a contribution to change.
In 1974, the Argentine military known as Las Juntas caught up with Fantini.
At some point in Córdoba, Argentina, I was having a cup of coffee in this coffee shop that's called El Ruedo in downtown Córdoba, and I was arrested. That's when my second chapter in my life starts, when I end up in various political prisons.
In prison, Fantini says he was routinely beat and tortured.
They were concentrating political prisoners, and from all over the northern provinces of Argentina, we were constantly harassed. That the soldiers will come into the prison at any time during the day or night, and that they will start to beat us up.
But despite the harsh treatment and punishment, Fantini says he never lost hope.
I felt very strong because I had ideas of trying to improve my country, and I felt that if we were going to be killed, at least, I mean, we were in the right side.
In 1979, after 5 years of imprisonment, Fantini says he was surprised to learn that he was going to be released.
It was a very exciting moment, of course, in my life. The generals were still in power, and my life was in danger.
And even though Fantini says he was excited to leave the problems of Argentina behind, he knew he would carry the trauma from his experience with him forever.
There is nothing that I have done, nothing that probably I will do in the few years that I still have, that it's not related to what happened to me in those years.
While traveling as a survivor, telling his story, he hopes to pass on a message of hope to young people that want to make a change, just like he did.
Keep doing what you're doing, multiply your efforts, and make sure that in 10 or 20 years from now, you say, wow, I helped change the world, and you will definitely do it.
So the next time you use your voice, be sure to remember all those that have been radically silenced and tortured for using theirs. Reporting from Argentina for Mustang Magazine, I'm Adeline Janed.
Hey everybody, Brian here for a very quick sports update. With the fall season right around the corner, I want to remind you of a couple dates coming up. August 16th will be the first day of training camp for Norwood football under new head coach Manny Lopes. They open up against Walpole on the road for the first week of the season. And other fall sports will be beginning around the end of August, so stay tuned to Norwood Community Media on social media for updates on when we will be going live at those events. Thank you, and back to the desk.
Thanks, Brian. Throughout the year, the Norwood Senior Center hosts dinners with surprise servers. This week, Chief Brooks and his staff at the police department were given the honor of being the surprise servers. The members of the department arrived early and spent time talking to the group of seniors that were in attendance. For Deputy Chief Kelly, it is a great opportunity to give back to a group of people that support the department.
On behalf of Chief Brooks and the members of the Norwood Police Department, we'd like to thank the seniors for inviting us to the senior dinner. They gave us an opportunity to say hello and to actually serve them dinner, which we actually look forward to very much every year. Myself, Chief Brooks, Officer McGeckran, Officer Marchand, Sergeant Fundora, all came by and really took great pleasure in giving back to the seniors that give so much to the community. So thank you again for having us, and we look forward to next year.
If you like running road races and also enjoy a cold craft beer afterward, then you might want to listen up. August 17th at 5 p.m., Charles River Running, Percival Brewing, and the Winged Foot Running are hosting the second annual Craft Brew 5K. For more details on the event, we go to Jim Henry.
So it's a combination cross-country course and road race. So we start on paved roads, we end on paved roads, but the big chunk of the race is on grass, dirt, and gravel paths out behind the middle school in Norwood. So it's a fun course. We did it the first time last year. It was well received. People really enjoyed the course itself. And when you finish up, all runners 21 and older will get a free beer, courtesy of Percival. And we'll have a couple of food trucks will be there. We'll have Central Market in South Norwood will be there with food for purchase. There'll be a bunch of bands playing. I think there are going to be 3 bands playing during the night there. So there'll be a great festive atmosphere, and we're hoping that people will sign up, come and enjoy it.
If you're interested in running, applications can be found at Charles River Running or online at runsignup.com and search Craft Brew 5K. Day of signups will be allowed at the Space Center starting at 4 p.m. with cash or check. Last weekend, bike riders from near and far gathered on the South Shore for one of the best Massachusetts annual events. The Pan Mass Challenge, a 2-day charity bike ride with routes from either Wellesley or Sturbridge to Provincetown, raises money for life-saving research at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Many Norwood riders took on the difficult ride through the South Shore and the Cape. Great work by everyone. Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching.